Cryptocurrency market as a whole has not moved much. We are still close to $1.1 trillion, and you see Bitcoin slowing the large cap assets. Say we are looking at XRP and it does not actually see like you're going through that level. What's happening right now is, as we talked, we are dropping towards our support zone. So first, this level of support has to be watched. Then this is the next range. So this previous resistance is going to act as the next level of support. So we talked about the scenario before, like 0.37, and why was that? Because we are getting rejected from a trend line resistance. So you need to make sure that the price respect the bottom trend line as well, so that you are not breaking to the downside. Rather, you hit this level and bounce to the upside and go back higher, which is what we want. But until and unless we break through the upside or the downside, we really don't know where we are going. At a time when we see Bitcoin slowing major altcoins, the large cap coins, we are in a position right now where Bitcoin is trying to move to that lower support. If this breaks, as we discussed last time, we're going to see a retest of $21,000 in Bitcoin. So before that, what's the possibility? Bitcoin may actually do a little bit of retracement, going back to this level, testing this level. Now, at least during that time, if it gets a lot of volume, it may go back up. But the odds are looking like it's going to the downside. One of the major reasons for that is the last couple of days price action, right? You had this level, which literally looks like, okay, this was a good positive sign, but then next 4 candles kind of erase that movement. So if you actually step back on a 3-day chart, now what you're looking at here is that, yes, you got a bullish engulfing candle, the green, blue, that breakout to the upside, but what's happening after that is the confusing part. Meaning, if you're focusing on the price action, the top here, you match that. The bottom here, you're there right now. So if you break that to the downside, now your next zone is here, which is going to be 22,500, after which you are coming to 20,000, 21,000 range. Now you'll have like a couple of small short-term supports on the way to the downside, but panic usually takes these short-term support. So we can neglect that and say like, okay, the possibility would be this resistance, which is going to turn as a support here, right? So if that happens, XRP is also going to come back down to 0.37 and slowly bounce. Now, that's not saying the entire market is dropping, because you see a lot of these assets popping, right? 25% a day, right? These happens in the market. We've been guiding through about this particular asset, talking about what the possibilities are. And right now we see it going towards our target, getting close to that direction. Now, what's more important is to understand where the momentum is changing, where the volume is right now. With the breakout, if you're observing volume, that means people are understanding that it is a macro opportunity. And, like we are actually looking at, like, say, for example, this asset is up like 50% for the day. Why is that? It's still in the same market where the other coins are not doing much, right? And you still see a lot of these assets slowly grinding higher, where you get to see all these opportunities. Now, you do have news on the other end. You do have fundamentals on the other end. Completely agreed, 100%. That's how the market actually works for an investor. But when you're looking for trades, you're literally looking for patterns, your targets. It's been just 10 hours since this post of Staffy Face. We already came up like 70% above, right? And this is where I say, like, information is key. If you have a technical information suggesting that this is going to break out and this is the target, and you're like, okay, I'm taking my profits close to 75-80% of the target, now you have the edge in the market because you already know where the resistance is going to be, right? So if you are ready for that, you can look at the Patreon. The link is given in the description below. So guys, now we'll break down the large caps, which is biggest holding for all of us. Say XRP, XLM, like that category of assets. We're going to look through all of that. Welcome to the Scientific Investor family, where the normal retail guys learn how to become the next top 10 person of this world. As we've highlighted about these different opportunities in the market, now when you're jumping in and checking what's happening with all these coins which are popping, you actually happen to see a certain group of assets based on different projects, based on their fundamentals, based on their news cycle, and completely technical breakouts. You see them doing all these runs. So you do have opportunities existing in these markets. And when you go into the charts and when you're searching for this, you do get to see all these assets, right? Once you're looking through small, medium cap assets and you're looking like, okay, it's breaking higher, it's going higher in price. Why is this happening? If it's true, what are you looking at, right? All these numbers, it's actually important. When you're going through and you're understanding that you have this opportunity, it kind of gives you an edge in the market to understand, okay, what's really happening with all these assets which are moving back higher. Fine. But now, say the assets which you're already in heavily, say XRP, XLM, and all the other categories, as we've discussed, we just first look at the 3-day or a weekly RSI, and is it showing you a big bullish momentum? Now, on the macro side, yes, you broke this level, which is actually a great thing, and you retested that. Now, on the micro, you broke this one. Most likely, you're going to retest that, which kind of pushes us all the way back down to this level of 0.33 on the weekly chart. That's what it actually suggests. So if you are looking to buy more, that's going to be a support level which you can actually think about doing that. Fine. But that does mean from the current price action as a large cap coin, this can drop another 10-15%. Right? That's not actually that great, good looking chart where it's 100x to the upside. Long term, yes, this asset is bullish, but short term, the volatility of the market is pushing it lower. Now you look at all these different category of assets inside that same tier, like the payments. Now you can look for the wholesale, which is XRP, then the retail, which is XLM. So even in that space, what we are observing right now is that what level we've created as a support is being now taken. Now you go on a daily and you observe that level was a support. If we don't hold this level, it's going to be painful. Meaning this was a previous resistance. Great. Now it turned into a support, which is actually bullish. It's actually positive in that sense. So to get more clarity, you can just go on a line chart and see you broke this range. Now you're retesting that. It is good. But what I'm observing right now on the RSI is it's breaking to the downside from the trend line. MACD is crossing to the downside on a daily, which does not actually add to further bullish momentum, right? So we need to see some volume coming in to turn positive. But usually when XRP drops, XLM follows that, which is a little bit of concern here. Now, the only positive thing which we can argue is that this is a bull flag formation, which actually holds true. So unless we break through this level, we don't actually have to go bearish, right? We can actually put that. So if you put that number, it's 0.0875. So that's going to be a level of short-term support, which you would most likely be happy to look at. Now, look for another macro, large cap asset, which is in a different category. See, it's a smart contract based platform. Cardano, it's fundamentally strong. The last cycle, it actually went massive, right? It went up like nuts. It ran up just the wave. One was 23x. The accumulation range, you still got a bounce here 5-7x. So if you are accounting for that too, for the entire run up, when the altcoin market did a 33x, this did a 140x, close to that. Now that's actually something big. And then you are looking for the macro direction here, and the RSI shows a broke higher. I'm retesting that range. So if we get a breakout here to the upside, that's going to be massively bullish. Now, that's the macro view for this asset. But once you dive in to understand, okay, what's the short term like? Can it be a great entry? Now, if you don't mind about the average price, you are looking for next couple of years, it's going to be fine. But what we are looking at right now is that the RSI is showing you it's trending lower, but it is inside a pattern. Now that pattern itself is bullish. So getting a break to the upside is the priority here. And most likely that's going to be the odds. But on the other side, what's weighing on the price right now is the pattern which it is developing, meaning you are slowing down. The buyers are actually slowing down. And historically, when you get this, you come back down to a support level. So the first level of support is going to be this range, which was the previous support. We'll extend that. We see that it became a level of resistance afterwards, right? So you're looking at this clearly and you get to find that this was a level of support, which actually then turned into a resistance and support. So if it drops, you're looking for this range, which is like 0.35, close to that level, which is not that bad in terms of price action, but yeah, there is a possible short-term drop for that. Now you can actually literally go into different time frames and look at this and still find similar pattern. Now on a 4-hour chart, what you are looking at is a rising wedge breaking to the downside. And when rising wedge usually break, it actually come back here. So 0.33. Now you got a range. Like the short term suggests it can drop, and if the panic is still there in the market, it can drop to 0.33, right? And then it may bounce back. Why? You now zoom out and extend that level to see what's happening at that particular level. For this particular asset, the market is reacting positively at that level, which is actually good. Now you go back to XRP just to actually compare it with the market on that level, short term. What do the market think about support resistance? If you look at the current price, that's a long-term range of support and resistance. From 0.33 towards 0.4, we had a macro level of support. We've been respecting that through these times. It was a support. Then it turned into a resistance, which again turned into a support, resistance, support, resistance, support. So right now we are at that support level. So it actually looks positive. But if we break that, it's going to be bad. So the positive scenario here is that, okay, we have a bull flag like we saw in the XLM. And if we drop, we need to see this bouncing from 0.38, say 0.375 to the worst case, right? That's what we really want to look at. Now, you're going back in the market, and at the time, do understand that Bitcoin is volatile. It's showing you that the candle itself is bearish. So it's not bulls winning this day. It's actually bears who won the last day. But one thing to note here is when you are trending to the downside, slowly coming back to the downside, and you get a hammer pattern, that's like, I'm like, okay, that's inverted hammer. And usually inverted hammer happens to be a little bit of positive sign. That's something to keep in mind. As you are looking through that in a bearish lens, you also have to understand the price action is talking to you and it's conveying an information like this. Now, when the market actually conveys such an information, it's our duty or your duty to see like, okay, what happens after that? You go look like, okay, inverted hammer, what does it actually mean? Meaning when you are trending to the downside at a time when you get this, it shows like, okay, buyers tried to push the market higher, but yeah, they didn't win that war. Sellers pushed it lower, but you get an idea that now buyers are trying to push it back up. What does that actually mean? Meaning, buyers do believe that this is an area of support and they think it's going to hold, right? That's the only reason why you try to push back up, right? So on a 12-hour chart, it's more or less looking like what we just stated in these. Now, if you're in the market, now these are like the short-term technical, which is about for educational purpose. What you really want to look at is most likely different assets in the market. Say, there's a Forex chart and you actually get to see this and then a price action going back to the upside. Fine. So literally go into the market and see when you got these patterns before, what happened. It can be in the stock market, it can be in commodities, but whenever you saw this and 80% of the time the price action reacted in that sense, I'm like, okay, that's good. Now, at the same time, I'm not saying it's completely bullish. Why? Because this particular candle to the downside is a little bit negative, meaning the sellers, their volume was heavy on that end. So the current bounce can be a retest of this range. So if you put that onto a number, it would more likely look like, say, you're going to test 23,300, which is going to be a level of resistance for sure. Because you broke to the downside, now you're going to have a retest. Now you zoom in Now, this is like, literally short-term charts. So it is crazy to see all these volatility and numbers, but when you are trading, when you are looking for opportunities, that's the hard part. You have to look at that. So right now you are looking for this possibility, and as we talked in the maybe last video or the video before that, we had a higher odds that the market can drop to the downside. And yeah, it's 2% downside. That's not a big deal. Like, we did that, we already covered that ROI to the downside if you are a seller. But when you come back up, this is most likely going to be a retest. Why? Say on a higher time frame, it shows you like, okay, the possibility is you broke to the downside with an ABC pattern. Say you took that dive, you took this and you did the correction, and you can come in like this. But again, that nothing is confirmed yet. Once you test this level, and if you get rejected, that does not look good. Agreed. So right now we are still waiting for the market to show us what it's doing. But there are a lot of different assets in this asset class which is right now popping, right? Popping through the roof. 30% a day, 20% a day is like massive. Even 10% a day is actually literally huge. And if you can find these opportunities at the right time before they actually burst, that's going to be huge. Right now, we talked about JST, right? And we are looking at that right now, that the market is starting to bounce higher, right? We had different calls and we entered in different trades. Like, we see like this asset fetch is like 15% up for the day and 78% already for this week. We see New Marine is up for 12% and 50% up for the week. And literally, we entered those trades. And when you are in that alerts, you get to see when I buy, you get to see when I sell, you get to see when I take profits, right? And taking profits, I do share it in the social media to show like, this is actually possible if you are focusing on technical analysis. Yes, fundamental analysis is important. Knowing what that asset stands for and how things are evolving is important. But then also you have to look on the other perspective, like, what's the competition looking like? Because here it's more like, Ethereum trying to build a settlement platform for USDC. But as far as I remember, the Circle chief on World Economic Forum was literally talking about something like Ripple. He was literally talking like something like Ripple to build the scalability and settlement efficiency. Now I'm like, then they're going for Ether? I can't actually digest that perspective. So why can't that be the easy case for the market? They're just going for that. And it's Visa. Their throughput is like 50,000-60,000 transactions per second. Now think about Ether doing that for USDC. I literally cannot actually understand, because the network is not scalable. You go try looking at different projects built on Ether and you try the moving that within your wallets or just sending to a friend. The gas fee is so bad. They say literally like, okay, go into the settings, adjust this. And I'm like, I've tried both. There's no too much difference. Because when you see an asset like XRP, which sends $200 million for a 0.00 in the value, and you have to pay like, way more than that in Ether, you don't want that. One, the settlement there happens instantly. And you have never seen a hack in that system. Here, anything built on Ether, a lot of them are getting hacked. So you don't really want to be on that. And that's where we are like, okay, you need to do proper research. And when these firms which are looking for businesses in crypto, the venture capitals, if they do proper research, they understand that. But the issue is, JP Morgan, Ether, the partnership, the way they blanket the market, the information, it's actually bad. Okay, now we'll jump back to the technicals. So yeah, dollar, it had this retest. We talked about this 2 or 3 days back, saying, okay, we may most likely go back up when we broke this level, saying we are going to retest this. Now we are at that range. So if we get rejected, we're going down. That's great for the assets. We are going to down, down, down here in dollar terms, and any dollar denominated asset is going to run more, right? That's going to be a perfect scenario if you are in assets and you want to see them appreciating in value. Because if it's designated in dollar and dollar itself is dropping, now you have a higher chance of that asset popping, right? You see all of this happening. And remember, it's not only that. On the other end, you do see them going down. So you have to actually look at like, which is an opportunity, which is a short-term opportunity, which is a long-term opportunity. Because if it's a long-term opportunity, what you're looking at right now would be, where is the best support where I can actually buy this? right? Which is going to be a good scenario for that asset. So you're completely prepared to understand, like, okay, which is the next support? If I'm buying, what would be the next level of support where I should average down? So that perspective will always be there. And in the same market, you also get to see these kind of movements, which is actually a positive thing. So while you take time to learn through the TA, while you spend your time to understand the market, it is an important factor to also go look at different asset class in the same pattern. If you observe a pattern here and you want to see like similar patterns, how it played out in the history, go to different asset class as well and look for that. It kind of gives you an edge in the market. So guys, if you received value for your time, please do hit that like and subscribe button, because the market is moving as we've talked. We are looking for all these coins which are popping, and we literally are finding them, and they are popping as I just highlighted. So if you are looking for that information, you can look at the Patreon, where we post consistent opportunity targets. When we hit target, when I put the trades, you get the alert. So if you are ready for that, next 3 months is going to make you some opportunity. And if you are deciding to get on that opportunities, now you have an edge, because you do get clear alert when there is a breakout, what's the target, when I enter, where I exit. That's kind of a little bit help to create a better decision. So that's it for today, guys. I'll meet you on the next video. Bye for now.